Hey guys, welcome to Black Angus Views. I'm Black Angus, of course. And today I'm going to be talking about the John Wayne 1971 resurfaced interview from Playboy that apparently has a lot of people in a fuss. I don't know why. This has been around for almost 50 years, but they're just now finding it. It's funny because I found a quote from it in a 50 years Playboy book that I wanted to do a review on because it's got some really cool interviews and pieces from the whole magazine that's way beyond the porn that Playboy is known for. Which really, Playboy doesn't do a lot of porn in their magazines. It's really just centerfolds, and that's the carnal draw to a real gentleman's magazine. It's trying to enlighten you. What's funny is so there's four pictures I saw in this one big tweet from like a main, probably a blue checkmark Twitter news source. One was talking about his view on gays and representation, whatever, in like Easy Rider, Midnight Cowboy, two films I have not seen, so I can't comment on those. He talked about blacks in a couple, and then he talked about Indians and essentially white colonization or conquest in America at the expense of Native Americans or Indians, as I prefer to be called as a Cherokee. And it's weird because I was literally this morning at work talking to a friend about this interview and saying that I think there's some merit here. Okay, so Starship Troopers, I've finally seen that recently, and it presents an interesting idea of citizenship, that citizenship has to be earned, that your input in government has to be earned, so you have to do military service to attain citizenship. And of course, you're in like a never-ending war with these aliens, so you always have the draw and the funding to back up the society. But I thought, even though it's a satire of fascism, I thought it was an interesting concept, actually, that has some merit, that if people had to earn their citizenship and earn their right to speak in government, that people would be a lot more concerned. You'd have a lot more of a dedicated society to making a good government. You probably wouldn't have such frivolous bills being pushed and stuff. Just a guess, it could be just as bad, but it's an interesting concept, I think, and it has hints of how like European countries and like Israel, they have essentially a draft where you have to do public service, like the Peace Corps, or military service for a minimum amount of time. As opposed to America, where we've got rid of that completely. And I say this, I bring the Starship Troopers thing up because here is one quote from the interview of John Wayne that people are freaking out about. We can't all of a sudden get down on our knees and turn everything over to the leadership of the blacks. I believe in white supremacy until blacks are educated in a point of responsibility. And I was talking about this because I was talking about Starship Troopers today and stuff, and I was like, I think as a black guy looking at where we've gone from where we've come, I don't feel we've gone anywhere. Look at my Indian ancestry and the casinos, the infrastructure, the governments we've built on Indian land. Sure, blacks have not had that chance to have reservations to progress the same way, perhaps. But blacks actually got citizenship before Indians. There's a reason why, because Indians are already deemed Americans to an extent, or citizens of another nation. But beside the point. John Wayne goes on to say something about conquest of Indians and stuff in land, and how, like, why would I apologize for, Indians wanted to keep all the land, and so we needed to survive, so we took it. And, no one cries about the fact that Indians fought each other to take each other's land for progress of their societies. That never comes up in these arguments. It's only about the white man, and it's really old, I think we've seen past that lie and that white hate. It's idiotic. Every successful nation has come at the expense of someone else's nation or culture. That's just the name of the game. It's evolution. It's social Darwinism, essentially. I don't know why we cry about it when white people are successful. It's funny, too, because all the backbone of philosophy and thought that helped build America and democracy comes off the heels of great white societies. White, quote-unquote, Greeks, Romans, they want to utilize everything great that white people have built in the world that gives them this foundation, yet they want to eradicate the offspring of those people. or put them off into a corner and give them no chance. They want it to make up for the past when other cultures couldn't at the expense of white success. And it's just vindictive, okay? And this whole outrage at John Wayne's interview, let me put this in perspective for you. John Wayne was born in 1907, the year Oklahoma became a state, my state. Died in 1979 of stomach cancer. He was married 3 times. One woman was Spanish descent, and 2 others were Hispanic descent. So when you look at talking about white supremacy, and use that for a buzzword of outrage, you don't look at the context that he's talking about. He's not even saying, "Oh, I believe in white supremacy." End of story. He's like, "I believe in white supremacy because we, as a demographic, are educated and stable, I guess." And it's like there's an argument to be had there. Look at where we've gone compared to pre-civil rights. Even the disparity of income was almost completely void, and then you get the Great Society and stuff from what's his name, LBJ. And ever since LBJ, the disparity's gone up and up and up. Even with Obama, it's become way more disparate being black compared to being white as a family income. And so, like, when you see MAGA Kanye dropping truth bombs about Democrats, it's like, there's something to be said there, especially when everyone's freaking out about him saying these things. So I feel that there's some merit beyond just being black, but as a society as a whole, I think people in general, myself included, are not responsible enough to, say, vote and have input in society in that way. So yeah, I kind of buy into the Starship Trooper idea that is kind of echoed in John Wayne's quote, specifically about black people, but I think it has a bigger reach than just black people. I think it applies to anyone who doesn't educate themselves. Also, I see this tying in with the Confederate statues and flags being pushed to be removed from everywhere, Capitol ground and stuff. And they try to appeal to you to go along with this idea. They're saying, hey, a lot of these statues weren't made right after Civil War. They were made and funded by people in the Ku Klux Klan or whatever, white supremacists that were trying to say, like, the South is still here, we're going to rise again. Even if that's the case for every one of those statues, why are you trying to rewrite history? Why are you trying to eradicate what's problematic, out of nowhere, when this was an argument, they started letters from Robert E. Lee talking about black people were surfacing, and they're like, this is problematic because he's got racist views of black people. Like, the Civil War just ended. Look how many people died, supposedly, depending how you view what the cause of the Civil War was, how many people died because of freeing black people. If that's the end-all be-all of the Civil War, think how General Lee might have felt when him and his wife had slaves, and you have young boys across America, North and South, brothers killing each other for livestock at that time. That's what us black people were. We were livestock. That might build some awful sentiment to black people as a whole. No one puts this in perspective. No one puts, why people would think this, or like where they come from, the time era they're from, the culture that was present largely. John Wayne wasn't going to be the only guy. I'm sure there's probably people that would fit in the Democrat Hollywood elitist side of things from Hollywood back in this era that were homophobic because it wasn't cool to support gay rights back then, and so that was a general consensus. Are you going to demonize those people, even though they might be icons in certain ways for your thought process? When something surfaces bad, are you going to just eradicate them from existence? And that's what don't be surprised. I feel very concerned that in a couple years, people are going to start digging up more and more about all sorts of actors who had wrongthink for a period where it wasn't even wrongthink. And we're going to have to eradicate them. We got to remove the awards that were given to them because their views are problematic 40, 50 years later. So don't be surprised if people aren't protesting at film institutes and the Oscars, etc., and trying to rewrite history in film because they're already trying to do it in real history through society. Those are my thoughts on this topic as a black man and as a bisexual man. I'm not indicting John Wayne over this article. I don't like his acting, but I don't hate his existence as an actor, and I don't want it eradicated or cleansed or to go after his family for the generational wealth they're living off of from his success as a racist. Please, NPCs, do your research. He lay with 2 Hispanic women and had 7 children. So, like, I think there's a priest in his family who's like a grandson named Munoz. So, yeah, just please do your fucking research. Quit indicting people off of one bad thing they might have said, because holy fuck, I'm sure someone will unsurface something on Obama in 20 years, but they'll forget about that when because it doesn't fit their narrative. Don't buy into the NPC culture. Don't buy into their narratives. I'm Black Angus, an Angus of color. Have a great day.